We out here, yeah, exactly. Right. Let me do the intro, Tanner. Damn it. Welcome to your favorite podcast and mine and ours, the Podcast of Us, episode 4. This one is titled Daddy Pedro because Zam Zaddy, we got a new daddy in town. I am host number 1, Stephen Rose. This is my partner in crime. You may know him as Tanner Cherry.
Hello.
I am a super fan of The Last of Us. If you guys didn't know that, I actually went and I looked up a bunch of Last of Us information before this podcast so that when you nerds come in here to correct me, as you have proven to do every single episode, I will have the most fullest of information. I love the game, can't get enough of it, loving the show, and we're here to break it down, give you some behind the scenes. And that's where host number 2 comes in.
Yes, I am Mr. Tanner Cherry. I spent a year of my life. I spent a lifetime.
A whole life.
I spent a lifetime working on building sets for The Last of Us. It felt like that sometimes, right? Because like working for the film industry is nuts. Like 10-hour days is standard. 11 to 12 was, often. And 70 hours a week was not uncommon. It was invigorating, but I don't know if I want to go back. There's word that I might be able to jump onto season 2. And I'm like,
don't act like you ain't going.
Oh, I want to so bad, but now that, so Luca, our little son, he was born halfway through working on this production, but he was like a potato. He was a tiny thing that just needed, he didn't move, but now he's got thoughts and opinions and he runs around and I want to spend time with him. So 70 hours a week is like...
You don't want to hang out with potatoes? What the hell? What are you, not Polish? So yeah, for those of you who don't know, he worked as a Scenic Carpenter, building sets and stuff for season 1 of The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. So we have a little bit of behind the scenes sort of information, shots and stuff from the show, what it was like working on production, and of course, deviations and or feelings and thoughts on the episode and predictions. So that's the kind of stuff we go through. So yeah, we're on episode 4.
Episode 4.
There you go. Correct. Episode 4. So this episode was a little different, obviously coming off off the back of sort of breaking Bill or Brokeback Bill, whatever the heck you want to call it. The awesome episode we last had, which we've unfortunately crossed a little bit of dramatization from the audience of the show and fans and stuff. Which I remember we were talking about last time. You hadn't seen a ton of disagreeable people.
Yeah, I thought most of what I saw, the response to the episode from my perspective was overwhelmingly positive. I hadn't really seen anybody, and actually it was after we recorded our last podcast talking about it. There was somebody that was on a friend of my on my Facebook started posting about how how this and that, like all the things they were mad about, and I kind of like challenged them on it, just being like, hey, like there was somebody else that chimed in and was like, hey, like a lot of our homies in Alberta here worked on the production. Like you're kind of being a dick right now. Like where's this coming from? And then I stepped in and I was just like, stop just saying it's bad or it's this. Like let me know.
What's
like
the feelings?
Give me context.
What's the thoughts
like
behind it?
What are your thoughts? What didn't you like? And then he kind of just admitted to just like, well, everybody was just, there was so many people saying that it was so good and it was so this and so that. So I just wanted to be the contrarian, and I was just like,
what a thing to admit to. I just want to be a contrarian.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have a good discussion.
I just want to be an unlikable bastard.
Exactly. I thought we were going to have a good discussion, and it turned out to just be like, why did I even comment?
I'm not even homophobic. I just don't like anyone. I want everyone to be unhappy. It's funny because I have a friend who is friends with an ex of theirs, and they were just saying that they were asking what's the big deal? Why was season 3 or sorry, Jeepers episode 3? Why was episode 3 talked up so much? What the heck? Why was And I asked them, like, well, what's this person's context? And they said, oh, they watched it with this person that they're seeing, this girlfriend of theirs, who they don't like. They're very disagreeable. They're butting heads constantly. I'm like, yeah, I think if I was in a sort of a toxic place in my life or I'm unhappy, those scenes might not land in the same way. You know what I mean? Because I watched it with someone I really care about. Was very emotionally involved. I was like, oh, I love this person I'm talking to. I love this person I'm with, and I love this scene, this depiction of love, and this. I felt it all a lot because it contextually, I felt I felt the connection to it. Like it's
it was moving.
It's very moving, right? So I feel like if you're coming from it from like a sort of sad and dark place where you're feeling kind of lonely and whatever the heck, I could see where that and then a slight tint of homophobia kind of kicks in, and it just really makes you unhappy. So those people, I challenge you to maybe just watch it again with someone you really care about. You don't have to be in love with them. Heck, watch it with your freaking sister, your brother, and just remind yourself that you're loved and we all love you, and we want you to enjoy the rest of the show. So, it doesn't, I'm not going to say it gets less gay, because it doesn't, but, it just gets differently gay. So, so moving on to the start of this episode, which I want to sort of get your thoughts on. We start off, we're in the truck. We're with Joel and Ellie, and we are leaving Frankie Bill's place in that very brightly colored truck. I don't know if you noticed that, but
oh yeah, no, I remember seeing that truck. It was actually near the end of the production. No, I guess I saw it mid-production, because I wasn't there for the crash scene when they drove through the front of that laundromat, but I did see like a lot of my friends that were there that day on set. They were taking videos of the crash and everything, because that was one of those ones where like they had one shot really to do the crash, and I think they had definitely, at the end of the production, I've got pictures of, like, I think there was 4 or 3 of Bill's truck. There's many different, right? Because like depending on what the scene requires, they wreck them multiple times, or they do this or that. Same with Tommy's, the one in the first episode. There's multiple of those, right? Because they just get beat up and they just use so many of them. And also, oh man, that's one thing that I want to talk about, is a cool film thing about why they have multiple vehicles. Wait, maybe I should just look for that now while we're talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can carry for a sec that when I first sort of saw that vehicle, because the scene opens, obviously Ellie's got her gun right off the bat, and it's her looking in the mirror doing the pew 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 pew, whatever the heck, right? So it was
I have something to say about that too.
Tough. Yeah, do you? Okay,
yeah.
So it's her kind of doing the tough guy in the mirror type thing, and pulling the gun out and whatever the heck, and she even smells it, which is interesting because there's like lots of maybe.
Oh yeah, she does. She smells it like.
Maybe don't do this next time, but
it smells like gunpowder, right? Yeah, here.
Yeah, right. It must.
I'm gonna hit the second scene here. This was one of the pictures that I took of the. It says McDonald's bathroom, which is funny, but I remember looking at this. Actually, funny. This says episode 105, scene 501. So yeah, there was some restructuring going on for sure, but this was
episode 105. Well, it's like you were saying though, right? Where they had to they lengthened the first episode and sort of extended some of these other ones, right?
Yeah, because
this is one of the first episodes we saw where this is actually shorter than an hour.
Yeah.
This is 43 minutes long or something like that.
Well, I remember seeing this render, right? And I was like, I don't remember this from the game.
That is so cool.
Right? And the minute the episode opens and I see, it wasn't, was it immediately when she was pointing the gun in the mirror?
Yeah, I think right after the credits pop, she's pulling the gun out and looking in the mirre.
Of course, like I'm sitting next to my wife and I'm just like, oh! Like, oh, this is
that's the thing.
This is that scene, because this was the context that I had. Was this funny little,
That's Chris. You don't know that character? That's Chris. Look, it's Ellie's evil twin sister, Chris.
Yeah, it was cool. Like that was one of those moments where like, I'm seeing reference photos on paper and like scenes come together, like construction things. And then like seeing the cold open and like the scene come together and the mirror and then the gun in the mirror, it was like, oh, like this is so cool. It's like Christmas Day every fucking episode. I get to see this cool realization of this concept, and it's so wild having like back or like behind the scenes. And it's not much. I have like a little bit of behind the scenes. I don't have behind the scenes.
We got more
script.
than most of you.
Yeah,
more than most of you. Keep listening. Yeah.
But it was cool. I remember just being like, that's that scene. That's that scene.
Well, that's awesome. So I like that. I like that a lot because it was kind of an interesting look into her character, where she's looks so tough and she's all grizzly with the gun in the mirror. But then pew 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 pew. Like, oh, this is still just a kid, right? You get that kind of refreshing reminder Ellie's a kid.
I thought she was gonna blow her fucking head off there, because she was like, she racks it out.
The gun.
Yeah, she like pulls the bullet out of the chamber and like just
pulls
the
shell out. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I thought for sure she was gonna pop something. I was gonna shoot the mirror. I think who I was watching it with was like, "Don't waste your ammo. Don't waste." aiming at the glass like that. I don't think that's the plan, but that also I'm pretty sure Joel would come out of nowhere. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Disarm her and break her arms. So at that scene, Joel's obviously had enough of her, whatever the heck, and we get to the point where she finds the pun book, which is, a very important thing in the games. She finds a pun book and starts reading them off. Right? Obviously, it's been, I would say, it's been improved. Sort of the context, the relationship of the puns to the characters, which is silly, obviously, but at the same time, kind of comes together to sort of paint a really interesting character for Ellie. Like there's a point where she's telling jokes to Joel and he's just like, get in the truck. Like, I don't stop talking. He's like, doesn't want to hear them. Like it's funny because you hear this like level of, I don't want to hear thisness is so high. He's like a 10 out of 10 on the, I haven't laughed in 20 years level. You know what I mean? And he literally, I don't think I've seen him laugh this whole show.
Well, and jumping to the end of the episode.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of fair, right? It kind of makes sense given his background and all this. You kind of get a look into sort of Joel's hardness as a character.
Yeah.
When that joke comes out, the
be
joke
fair,
book, sorry.
I mean, she's popping off puns and jokes.
Yeah.
And I'm only gonna say this because it's relatable to I have a loved one right now who's going through pretty extreme grief, and I can understand why Pedro just does not have the fucking spoons to deal with a couple shitty jokes. Tess was, grief is very powerful. And, it's interesting because, that almost added to watching the relationship between Joel and Ellie take a next, a little bit of, growth to, the point where, the end of the episode where, I don't know, when he finally started laughing at that joke, when he said he was like, that is so goddamn stupid.
Yeah, I'm losing it. Yeah. You are losing it.
I actually was laugh crying. It was
100%.
It hit me. It was
I was watching that with too, was really feeling that. And I loved that too. That scene actually was so powerful when I watched it the second time, because I did watch this episode 2 times. I felt that 100%. And that was such a touching moment. And when I saw it my first time through, I streamed it live from HBO, whatever the heck, right? The HBO Max, whatever the heck you call it. Crave, I guess.
Crave.
So they do it so when they produce the episode, they release it. They do the hour-long, whatever the heck, live broadcast. You can't rewind it. You can't.
Oh, the premiere
you can't do
thing?
anything. Yes. So I watched it as it released. And unfortunately, I had a couple things I had to do in the meantime. I ordered a pizza, this and that, so I missed a few scenes in the episode. And I didn't like the episode very much. At first, the first time I saw it, I didn't really like it. But I missed a few small. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm popping off here. I missed a few small sort of things that made this episode a lot more colorful, and that was kind of one of them. Sort of how the end finished and everything. I really felt like. I missed that scene the first time. I missed the underground crack scene. When I watched it again, I was like, this is actually a really good scene. So yes, you get a little bit of that, and then you cut, and it's Joel's truck or Bill's truck, right? And you see it juxtaposed. This very clean vehicle juxtaposed against the backdrop of all of these curmudgeonly, smashed up, overgrown, dead vehicles around them, right?
Yeah, which really speaks to Bill's friggin' OCD, right?
Or Frank even, because I was speaking to that with the person I was watching it with, and I was kind of like, do you think would Bill have been that retentive about the truck? Because we learned that Frank had a lot of work behind the scenes on the quality of life and the aftercare taken of the town and whatnot, right? Very attention to detail,
the luster, if you will.
Yeah, exactly, right. A little bit of sparkle and shine from those lovely gays. You love to see it. And so I was kind of wondering, and I like that because it contextually, when you're watching a scene like that, I was trying to see, what does a shot tell me? And it sort of tells the story of Bill and Frank in an interesting way of a life that was lived. This shining, bustling beacon that was, stands out against this backdrop of just overwhelming death and, doom and, this gloomy setting. Everything's gray and green and, grown over. And you just see this very bright white and blue truck beaming down the roads or whatever. And so that's kind of like their
clean.
Spaceship. It was very clean. It was taken to the car wash like not that long ago. It was sparkling. So it was interesting. And then I guess they drive to the woods after that.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene. Like I remember, like he just hoofs a right off the highway and out through that field. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm really curious, like what are they doing there, right? And then like he kind of nestles into the trees and they take up refuge there. And it was like, you know, that's really interesting. Like when you're in those situations, you don't want to be anywhere near the road because somebody might find you, right? Somebody might drive past you, or like you just want to go bury yourself in a bush.
Could be on the main road, anything. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So I remember just being like, that's actually like one of those. I think it was a cool piece of writing in regards to just like giving you an insight into what it would be like to be, like 20 years past, someone who has survived 20 years past the outbreak. And just knows the hacks, knows the life hacks to
keep. You obviously have some survival.
Yeah, you've got some tricks that have kept you alive, right?
But then I would like to weigh in on that same sort of notion and ask, what on earth are you doing sleeping outside of the truck in your sleeping bag?
Well, she mentioned that, didn't she?
Of the forest.
Or no, maybe that was Callie sitting beside me. She was like, "Why do you sleep in the truck?"
Everyone said that. Everyone who saw that is like, "Why would you not just sleep in the truck?" I get it. You know, you don't want. No, I don't get it. No, it's wrong. I don't get. I have no context for why you would sleep outside.
Yeah, come on,
truck.
Everybody who's been to a festival.
Even the bed of the truck would be better than the freaking bug-laden ground. What are you trying to get ticks? This is how you get Lyme disease.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Cordyceps destroys the world, and you died of fucking Lyme disease from a tick.
That's what I mean. Or you just get some sort of very small, tiny infection that would have been curable anywhere else, and nope, not you though. Oh, you got bit by a spider? Ah, shoot, bud. Sorry to tell you, you got sepsis. A snake wrapped around your neck. That's it, buddy. I'm sorry. We don't have anti-venom anymore. Sorry about that. So yeah, that triggered me a little bit. I won't lie, but at the same time, it was more cinematic to have them lay outside and hear the crickets and all that stuff. It was funny actually watching how they lit up the forest as well. If you guys didn't notice, there's like. The forest is goofily lit. If you watch enough horror movies that take place in the forest, like Blair Witch or something, you know that the forest is there's anytime you see a shadow in any lit environment, there is a source of light nearby. So there was a lot of cast shadows in the scenes and no identifiable light sources. So it looked a little bizarre. It looked a little weird.
This is actually one thing that I would love to River, who we had as our guest on episode 2, we got to have him back on because, like, in regards to lighting and cinematography, I don't know if you saw Prey, the Predator film that was shot out here.
Fantastic. Such a good movie.
Thank God for saving that franchise and not shitting all over it like the previous iteration was.
It super could have had the chance to. I was ready for it to slam dunk and just be a woke message, super pilled, based unnecessary addition, but it was actually fantastic.
It was so good. But River worked on that, and he was telling me this crazy story one night when we were hanging out about basically like when you're shooting out in those situations, the way that you light situations like that, you can't use like a point of light, even a softbox or like a this or that. Like it's such a point of light. They basically have to fill a like 30-foot balloon and light the inside of the balloon so that it's like this giant glowing orb. And then they they let it up with helium or whatever, and it's like a giant balloon that's just like softly casting a wide source of light.
And see, I don't think they did that on The Last of Us because I could see shadows cast in goofy directions.
Interesting.
And I was like, this doesn't. I was like, RTX is clearly on, and I'm trying to trace these rays back to where they're supposed to go, and I'm confused as hell.
Because you are such a dirty gamer.
Oh yeah, you like that? You like when I talk like that? RTX on, baby. RTX off. Oh man, I love it when you ambient occlude me.
Oh my god.
Sorry, AMD. We're leaving you out here. My bad. So there's a bit of that, and then we get the world's best ravioli sponsorship I think that I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, Chef Boyardee.
Chef Boyardee's rolling over in his grave, doing a little clap for that show because it's so funny. It worked. That little ad because Joel rolls over, whatever the heck, or no, sorry, Ellie rolls over and she sees Joel cooking, and she checks out this coffee machine thing that I asked what it was. I was like, is that some kind of magical inverted gravity French press? And I asked a partner foolishly about what it was, and I got like 15 minutes long description of every type of coffee machine. Kind of not what I expected, but you know what? That's what you get. That's what you get. It's called a mocha. For anyone who wants to know, it's called a mocha, and it's apparently the best thing you can have while camping. So I learned about that. So
Callie
I
was
promised
like,
I'd make a reference.
Callie instantly was like, "Oh my god! Like our buddy has that exact camp stove and that exact coffee maker." Like,
called a mocha. All right, I'll have you know. It's called a mocha. Freaking, you don't want Chai here in the comments, or she'll be ripping us up. Yeah. So that
sorry,
then she asked, you know, she's eating the ravioli, and what is this? It's so good. That right there is 22-year-old ravioli, Chef Boyardee ravioli.
Yeah, it's a good vintage.
Yeah, right. And then freaking my partner just says, "Man, I really want ravioli." I was like, "It's working. That sponsorship's clearly working."
Yeah, that product placement.
22-year-old ravioli is getting you going. Holy cow! So that was funny, and I kind of think that was sort of the end of the scene. Sort of really, they just talked a little bit about, you know, who they don't want to see. You know, oh, why can't we light a fire? Oh, because then the infected will come. And he's like, no, that's not what it is. She's like, what? He's like, fungus ain't that smart. She's like, people? He looks at her.
Yeah,
damn right. Yeah,
he's alive for a reason, right? He's smart enough to know 100%. How not like to think at least one step ahead the obvious fuck ups.
Well, it's like when Ellie asks Joel, "Hey, you know, how do you keep going on? If you have no hope in the world, how do you keep going on unless you have a purpose?" Right? And you know, and then she just says, "You don't know the world. You know, you ain't seen it yet." And I love that because that's like such a sort of realistic kind of feeling that you would have. You'd be jaded a little bit, right? So I liked that too. You're just a kid. You ain't seen shit. And we know about Ellie historically. She has seen some stuff. She's seen a little more trauma than kids her age. Even given the world, she's, you know, she didn't end up bitten for no reason, as we'll come to sort of see as the show develops a little bit. So that's the passive aggressive coffee drinking I have marked on my notes. Smells like burnt shit.
It smells like burnt
Joel
shit.
Just looks at her and he just goes.
Yeah, slurp, slurp, slurp.
He slurps it up as passive aggressively as I've ever seen someone drink coffee in my life. So shout out to Pedro for that.
Yeah, and then they go from there to try and get into. This is one scene that I want to talk about. They want to get into the city, right? And they drive up this road and they get to an impasse.
There you go.
Which I remember just being like, why the fuck can't you guys drive up and like up and around and over? Right?
Right.
So that scene, I'll switch over to here. This is this Google Street View.
Yo.
This is Airport Trail in Calgary, and this is that.
Shut up! That's what that is.
Yeah,
that's
this
road was.
This is I can't remember how many years ago it was. It's less than 5 in Calgary. They built an underpass underneath the airport, so it goes underneath the where the planes land, right? The planes come in and like land right here, and they built this underpass, so it's like a little tunnel system. And yeah, for like 2 days they just rammed this full of the broken up busted ass cars and like stuffed it all up, and this is where they pull up to, and they kind of get to that point where they're like, what do we do? I don't know why you can't just drive up the fucking hill. Like
100%.
I remember just watching that scene, just being like, "Damn, dude, come on."
Well, you know what it looks like too, though. For us as the viewing audience, you just assume, oh, there's a wall, or there's a car, or I actually don't know. I kind of watched that thinking something similar, but I don't think I
looks
actually.
through, right? He looks through like the crack between the cars,
and it's clear on the other side.
Yeah, and it's like, there's nothing blocking it, but it was like rammed full of cars here. Yeah, I remember just being like, why the hell don't you just drive up there?
You also could have pressed your truck against it and probably pushed where the semi can is, the semi can that it's pulling. Yep. You could have probably pushed against that and forced open a bit with your truck. You could have done that also, but you know what? For the sake of cinematic consistency, we'll just say that impossible. Couldn't have. It's impassable. You might even say
it's impassable. So that was a funny scene. I remember just being like, damn it, like, God, you can just drive up the little hill.
Too much, yeah.
It's because I've driven through there, right? I've like that's my hometown.
That's so funny.
My immersion.
My immersion, bro. So yeah, and then I want to take this moment to just say really quickly, I need to weigh in. So obviously this is called Daddy Pedro because we see some real daddying in this one. We get some Zamzaddy going on here, but I do gotta say, Joel is developing some kind of whack accent, and I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know what flavor of Latin America cross, Texas cross, like Chicago. I just don't know what this accent is, and it's taken me about 4 episodes to really like settle in with the fact that I can't place it and that I don't like it. But at the same time, I think it makes sense because a lot of Joel's acting or Pedro's acting for these scenes has Joel being kind of more quiet, more reserved. So he's just kind of whispering things and saying things under his breath type stuff. So really, Joel does a lot more yelling in the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
He yells a lot more.
Actually, shout out to the Critical Drinker YouTube channel that everybody should know.
Sometimes.
Man,
sometimes I love him.
Yeah, sometimes, but like for the most
part, he can be a little too base.
Yeah, but I did watch his review of, I think it was episode 3, because he was actually like, he was quite happy with, you know, the whole Bill and Frank situation.
Nice.
He was like, this was great writing, and like it was really impactful characters, and like they dug into your heart, and they made an impact, and it was great TV. It was good storytelling.
Nice.
But he was like super pissed about Joel and Ellie. He was just like, what the hell's happening with Joel? Like, Joel's letting up way too quickly. Joel doesn't let up quickly in the game, you know?
It is true. He is warming up a little faster, but there is some body language stuff that still kind of shows him being cold, I guess. But at the same time, we don't have quite the same amount of time with these characters that we would have in a game.
Well, what is the expected
9 episodes?
What is the expected duration of playtime for your first pass through The Last of Us?
Probably like 18, 19, 20 hours.
20 hours. So we're looking at more than double of what a television series can. But then again, with a game, I think actually Steven Squiggle that I was talking to the other day there, he said like, your first pass throughs might be 18 or 20 hours, but he said like if you've been through the game a number of times, it'd probably be like 8 or 10.
Yep.
Which is about,
you could do like 4.
That's about what this series is going to be on TV, right? So it can have somewhat similar pacing.
But I mean, it's sort of the passive dialogue that happens in the game that sets the tone for the character, whereas you don't really get to have as much not moot but seemingly inconsequential moments from set piece to set piece. You don't really get to walk around the show in the same way you do in a game where you know the simple find something on the ground, hey Joel, look at this, I don't care, you know. It's the simple small development of characters and just sitting with them for so long, and you know that you really get a sense of them more so than you do from watching something. You're not quite as involved, so to speak, in the characters in that way. So obviously, the way that it's basically we're watching a full cutscene. You know, they're taking the game and turn it into a cutscene, right? So the cutscenes of Joel and Ellie, if you took out all the gameplay segments in between, I think it might be more similarly paced to what we're watching now, right? I think that's reasonable. I think for the viewing audience, you don't want a viewing audience who just thinks your main character is an asshole. You know, like you know, you want to be like Velma. Relatively likable. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Have you finally watched that? God.
No, I'm harkening back to fucking Moist Critical's breakdown of it.
Well, and also I think I've successfully brought that up almost every episode. So right. I'm happy to follow up on HBO's other non-critically acclaimed hit in all the wrong ways.
Can we talk about your Texaco sticker on the back of your fucking clipboard?
Why, you like it? My Texaco sticker?
Oil and gas.
That's right. We're in Alberta. Yeah, exactly. We're from Alberta. We're the oil and gas. We're the Texas of Canada.
Yeah, which actually
so that's why we like Joel so much.
Speaking of which, that's the thing that's missing, right? Is like the Texan accent. It's like the Texas.
The Texas really
is the Joel, and that's the
drawl.
Part that the drawl. Totally, that's the one thing that he definitely had in the first episode a bit.
He tried, and then he just he wavers back into it, and that's what I'm finding bizarre. If he just committed in either way, maybe these are scenes that have been chopped up, and some writer's direction and some director direction that has changed in between, and so they're just taking the pieces they like, whatever. It just feels a little bit all over the place sometimes, and that comes from someone who obviously knows what Joel's supposed to sound like. So it's a little bit biased. I think as a viewer, you might be able to just shake it off and not really notice. But it's something I have had a hard time with just because I know so much about how Joel sounds. It's like burned into my brain. You know, that's Daddy Joel. So it's it's just a little strange. It's like if Kratos or something was on TV and he just didn't have the boy. Didn't sound like Kratos. You know, he just had he's more like, hey boy, how's it going?
Hey boy. Yeah, Topher Grace playing Kratos.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, he did such a good job with Venom. I mean,
oh my god,
why not?
Wait, no.
Topher Grace is great at playing a buff black guy, isn't that the right guy?
No, fucking Tom Brady played.
Who played Venom?
Or sorry, not Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Okay, no. Venom from Spider-Man 3 was Topher Grace, from that '70s show.
Oh yes, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
obviously not the
Tom
more
Brady.
modern one.
Jesus, that's
Brady,
football. Who am I? Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy.
Yeah. You're that far off. Dude, Tom Brady kisses his dad on the mouth.
Tom Brady kisses his 9-year-old on the mouth.
He makes out with his dad though during and after every game. It's hilarious. You can see it. There's videos of him making out with his dad, and it is just so cringe.
Tom Brady's interestingly weird.
Yeah, he also falls for crypto scams, so maybe not the best.
Yeah,
idol,
that guy was one of the.
Don't make out with your dad, and don't fall for crypto scams.
Tom Brady was one of the
two pieces of advice.
One of the big mouthpieces of FTX, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
I think I saw he lost like $60 million or something.
Just recently, they announced that. Well, he announced that, or his estate, whatever the hell, his PR team. But yeah, sorry, not to get too off the beaten path there. But yeah, so that I feel a little weird about his accent, but at the same time, I do really like the character. Don't get it wrong. I don't think Pedro is like poorly acting. I just think there's a bit of inconsistency, sort of in the direction with his voice.
Yeah, the way that I perceive it is that it feels like a lot of Pedro Pascal, and yes. I don't hate that because I like Pedro a lot.
Yeah.
After this most recent episode of Saturday Night Live, I fucking love him.
Oh my god! Look up Pedro Pascal and Mario Kart if you haven't seen it.
Just do yourself a favor and watch the whole episode. I got about 3/4 of the way through before I had to come down and do this, but he's
you're coming off hot with that. Okay.
Yeah. No, but it was earlier today before I went to work. Like in the morning, I watched the Mario Kart skit. Just do yourself a favor, look up the Mario Kart Last of Us Saturday Night Live crossover. Holy shit! Pretty funny. What a banger!
It is pretty funny.
But yeah, the rest of the episode too, because when he was a host on SNL this week, and it's just he's such a vibe.
Very lovable dude.
Yeah, he's a very lovable dude. And watching him,
very big daddy energy. You know,
there's one skit that he's on where he's waking up from a coma, and his family and his friends are around, and he's talking with this fucking weird speech impediment. He's just talking like an LA Valley girl, and everybody's like, "What are who are you? Why are you talking like that?" And my favorite thing. I'm sorry that we're going off topic here, but my favorite thing ever on Saturday Night Live is watching celebrities trying desperately to hold their shit together while reading their lines, and you can tell that they're just not gonna get there. They had to Pedro had to stop 3 or 4 times because he was about to just lose it and start laughing, and it's the greatest. Saturday Night Live is so cool for that, the fact that you're on the edge of it's live. You have no other option.
They got Elon Musk dressed up as Wario also, which I know nobody saw.
Wait, what?
I thought it was really funny.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see it? Wario's in court or something, and Elon Musk is playing him. It's super funny. Oh, it's super goofy. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Everyone hates Elon Musk too much, so you don't get to see any positive things about him anymore. He's just everyone's villain now. You know what I mean? It's kind of unnecessary. Everybody, all right? Can we just enjoy things? Enjoy stuff, please.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Elon Musk cast.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Elon Musk and Velma show, everyone's favorite. This is what you get when you leave 2 white guys in charge of a podcast.
Oh,
all right. So, carry on from that. We got a little bit of Tommy's backstory. He's a joiner.
His military background and stuff.
Yeah, and so because we were kind of talking about, he's like, I need you to bail him out. I need you to bail me out again, or whatever the heck. We were talking about that in episode 1. I was like, does he have more of a backstory of being imprisoned or whatever the heck, right? Detained, whatever the heck. So we learned, he defaulted from the military or whatever the heck that's called. When the whole apocalypse thing set in, he quit the military or whatever the heck. But just before that, obviously, because he was framing. He was being a framer.
Framing.
Carpentry. Yeah. And so, so you get a little bit of background on that. That's where they met Tess in a militia group where they did some questionable things. And that's nice that they kind of highlighted that Joel and Tommy and Tess have a history of doing some bad stuff. And that's kind of like what Tess alluded to, where you said everything right. You make everything right. That's what you do, right? And it's kind of, you get a little bit of information sort of on the backstory of what exactly it is that they did, because they don't really go into it in the games. You sort of understand that they have done some things that were bad. Less so Tess, more so Joel himself. You learn about, he's a smuggler, and that's about really kind of the breadth and depth of it, beyond killing innocent people, And when they walk into the raider camp or whatever, and they, you see some dead bodies and shoes piled up and stuff that they had, and she's like, "What are they doing?" They're actually eating people in the game. They're kidnapping people to eat. You learn about that from reading, and Joel kind of says that he's basically been there and done that. And
done that
dark
as
in the game.
Cannibalism?
Yeah, they definitely allude to him having been a part of like a cannibal faction, or at the very least, it's like sort of implied. So,
is that the faction? Is that the faction that they're talking about that they were a part of before being kind of drawn towards the Fireflies?
So, I mean, in the game and the show are different in that way, right? So he never really goes into what faction he was a part of before all this. But the raider group that we encounter, I think they're called the Hunters now. I think they have their own name in the show. So
is
this
that
isn't
who
necessarily
we encounter with the
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Yeah, Kathleen. Yeah. So they're a little separate. So, but I think in the game, Joel basically just says that, she's like, "How do you know all this stuff?" He's like, "They're eating people. Look at all their shoes and like looking at the stock and stuff." She's like, "How do you know all this?" And he's just like, basically says, "Been there, done that." I'm paraphrasing, right? But yeah, so it's kind of implied that Joel has done stuff as grisly as finding, innocent people and killing them and taking their stuff at the very least, maybe even eating them. So yeah, a little dark, maybe a little too dark for the show, so they didn't go into quite that stuff yet. We meet the group called the Hunters. The Hunters, right? So we get the scene, which I liked. It was almost word for word. Are we going to help that guy? Put your seatbelt on. No.
Yeah, I recognize that
in the game. In the game, I really wanted to say, "He ain't even hurt." Or sorry, in the show, I really wanted to say that because that's a line from the game. "He ain't even hurt." And then he drives right at him. So they change that a little bit, but they do end up, obviously they get attacked. They realize, Joel knows he's under attack basically once he sees that guy. "Help, help." He's like, no. We're getting jebaited. And yeah, so they end up getting, crashing or whatever, and they crash into the laundromat. And that sort of brings us into the next scene of the show, which I really I liked the laundromat a lot.
Yeah, I did. I remember playing that scene or playing that part in the game.
Yeah,
like when you get to the laundromat, you I think you encounter it's like 5 different people you have to dispatch.
It's too fucking many, to be honest.
It was hard. I remember it was wild, but it in the game it played out really well. Like I remember just being the way that it gives you some cues and hints, and it flows you through in like a really nice way, but it's tense. And it's the first time that you're encountering really
a bunch of dudes that you get the free flow. You got Ellie with you, and you're kind of sneaking around the shelves and all this kind of stuff. Right.
And you have to dispatch other survivors, rather than the Fedra or infected. And I think that they really did it justice, man. They did this scene super justice, even though it was 3 people that they encountered. It was the 2 that were outside, and then the one that came in from behind.
There's only the. Oh no, you're right.
Because when he shoots the one guy out beside the truck. Yes,
you're right. You're right. The other guy comes up and then gets shot, and then the third guy comes from the back. Yeah.
So there was the 3.
I want to say when they first crashed the truck. So obviously, crashing a truck harkens back to the very first episode. That's what happens. They, kind of get blindsided and end up crashing. And, that was with his daughter, Sarah. And so he crashes the truck and hits a bunch of the laundry machines. And, he kind of comes to for a second. And then he looks over at Ellie, and he seems extra concerned, more so than he would be in any of these other scenes. And he asks her, like, once they crash, "Are you okay? You're not hurt? Nothing?" Right?
Yeah,
no,
right
no, I
away,
think I'm
like-
okay. He's like, "Really? You're not hurt? Like what? Like, you know, because that's what happened when he pulled Sarah out of the wreckage, right? He's like, "Are you okay? Are you hurt? Like what's happening?" And her leg was broken, and so she couldn't walk on it, right? So there's a bit of like
you're gonna make me cry
PTSD.
again.
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed that. I caught that on my second watch where he's really instantly attentive because, you know, like it's a subtlety, but it really kind of harkens back to what he went through with his daughter. So that was kind of the first moment of Joel's fully vulnerableness with this character, you know, this first moment of like being attached to not just the mission, but this person in its entirety. So yeah, so then, you know, we cue her, Ellie gets hidden away or whatever, and Joel starts fighting. He kills the two of them, you know, pulling his 22, which, what are you doing with that thing?
Actually,
Why do you have bolt action?
Yeah, call back
you
to,
don't have a
we spoke about
grenade
this.
Launcher.
We spoke about this in the episode 3 breakdown, was like,
yeah,
fucking Bill's wall of guns. And he gave you the code to the bunker and said, take what you want. Yeah. And when we were like, it didn't look like he left with anything. Although there is one moment in this episode where the are we calling them the hunters?
I think that's their name. Yeah.
Yeah. So the hunters, the one guy, when they find the truck, and he says that they were well stocked, or does he say where they were well armed? So that implies sort of that the back of that truck might have had.
It did have a little canopy or like a blanket pulled over top of it.
Maybe he had a stockpile of shit that he took.
Yeah.
But if he did, why the fuck is he using a bolt action?
Why would you have the 22 on hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was sleeping in the woods, he put the bolt action rifle next to him, had it loaded up, and set it next to him. I don't understand why you wouldn't have like a M4A1 or some you know, semi-automatic burst rifle with a freaking ACOG on it, because that's what Bill would have had. So, but he has another pistol, a handgun, that he wasn't equipped with before. I don't think. Maybe I'm mistaken on that. No, I am mistaken on that. He had the snub nose. He had the snub nose from the beginning.
From
actually.
Before Bill.
Yeah, he had that at the museum. So yeah, I don't know, man. You could have had like a 9mm handgun, dude.
You could have had a small militia worth of weapons from Bill's bunker.
Yeah, so I don't understand why he's pulling a revolver out of his freaking holster when you could have had something with that 45 clip.
Yeah, like, come on, right? Like, we're smarter than that. Like, we as viewers, we're smarter than that. Writers, come on. You show us a wall of guns and a stockpile of ammo.
I'm expecting, dude, that would look like a Call of Duty Zombies, like right, like a treasure chest that had just been opened. You know, I looked at that, I'm like, damn, son, you got the pack a punch in here too.
Take the guns.
Yeah, so whatever. Obviously, we're not gonna beat ourselves up about that too much. But come on, guys, you can't show me like a grenade launcher and then tell me that Joel's like, nah, I don't need that.
Yeah, my trusty boomstick.
Yeah, so then obviously we have the moment where Joel's getting bested by the guy who snuck up behind him. He's getting choked out on the end of a gun that Joel didn't take. One of the frickin' semi-autos that the guy's choking him out with. I just remembered that.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't take that gun either.
Didn't he have a shotgun?
None of the guys he killed.
He was choking him with a shotgun.
Maybe it was. It could have been a 12 gauge, actually. You're right, because it was just a barrel of a gun basically being pushed on his neck, and that's what I do remember. And so then Ellie gets the moment where she's, oh my god, like I have to save Joel, right? So she pulls her knife out, and then's like, wait, maybe I should shoot this guy instead. And that's
she does. She pulls the knife out, and then she's like,
yeah, she looks at it, she's like, wow, I do have something else for this. I mean, honestly, that guy was pretty knifeable, if you ask me. But at the same time, I mean, whatever, I guess, right? Whatever. Sometimes you don't want to stab somebody,
but if he hears you and starts turning around, that gun is mighty handy 5 feet away. So
It's true. I mean, she did still walk up to him within like a meter and a half, so it was a little strange. When she fired on him too, I was like, oh, careful.
Yeah.
Don't shoot Joel too.
I mean, I will say, like, episode 3 was moving in the sense that it was just like the pacing and like the beat of like really gripping your emotions and making you sad and then making you happy and then making you sad and then making you like it was just the way that I feel like episode 3 was masterful was the roller coaster. The way that you fucking design a roller coaster is to have peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And like even music. It takes you on a journey, and like that episode took me on such a journey, and it picked me up and took
hard
me,
act to follow.
Like it would, like I really feel like fucking decades are going to go by, and I'm always going to be talking about the way that episode made me feel when I watched it. This particular episode was a little bit like, again, probably in the grand scope of the series, peaks and valleys, right? Yeah. They don't want to keep you on that emotional, like, the whole time.
Yeah, but true.
the moment in this episode when Ellie walks up and pulls out that gun and she shoots that guy.
Yeah.
Kudos to that actor. That guy had me.
He was such a little bitch.
Well, no, but he fucking, like, dude got shot in the spine, and he was like, why don't my legs work? And he's like calling for his mother, and he's fucking terrified.
We're not fighting anymore. No, it's okay. And like he's literally, Joel's like half passed out, so he's trying to convince this child to not kill him, which again is like a manipulation tactic. Yeah. Right, so he's trying to kind of persuade her before Joel comes to, and we could do that, thinking she has some power over Joel, basically, or might be able to sway what he does once he comes back or gets back off the ground. And we're not fighting anymore. And then Joel like looks around, like, what the fuck just happened? Sees Ellie with the gun.
The whole scene got under my skin in a weird way.
Yeah,
it was like it was desperate.
That's
it was
like
to see
just Joel, though,
desperation,
be cold-blooded.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to see him deal with it in the cold-blooded way, but also like when
he pulls his gun out and says, "Get behind the wall," right? Get back in there.
Yeah, and
then she goes by there and he stabs him.
Well, I mean,
you don't hear a gunshot; you hear
ammo's expensive.
Noise.
Ammo's expensive.
But I mean, he even in front of Ellie, he takes her gun, puts it away behind his, in his butt crack, shoot his own ass off, and he pulls his gun out of the holster and aims at the guy and says, "Ellie, get behind the wall."
Yeah, let's talk about him not
shake him.
Let's talk about him not following his own advice. Like, don't put that down there. You're gonna shoot your own ass off, and then he does it to his own self.
Yeah. Well, he started with that. Yeah, but that's he's like, I'm different. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's a million things you could say.
All
but
I'm saying though, that scene,
mommy.
That scene got under my skin.
You can really see in his eyes. You can see in his eyes when Joel gets back. He's like, oh fuck, I'm fucked. And it's true, you are, and you deserve it. To be honest, quite frankly, you deserve it. You deserve to get fucking murked. So, rest in peace, loser. But won't miss you at all. You play with fire, you're gonna get burned. Sorry, bud. That's Daddy Pedro. All right, you getting shit.
Daddy Pedro's coming for your ass.
100%. So Joel gets rescued by Ellie. It's a little different in the games. Happens in the games in a way where he's getting drowned, still sort of choked out, but she ends up shooting the guy or whatever in the head, I think, and instantly killing him, I think. And she is just like a little shook by it. In the game, it's a little different, right? In the show, she's kind of. There's a moment where he says thank you, basically, or like, I'm sorry that you had to do that. Yeah. There's one of the two he sort of says, and that's the moment where Ellie cries a little bit. He's talking about it's not fair that a kid should have to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, and she says it's like, not the first time.
Yeah, well, he even says what he's trying to explain. You shouldn't, you're not, and it's like, damn it, I'm not very good at this.
Like, gotta suck at this.
Right, you're not. Yeah, you're like, damn right, you're not very good at this.
I was totally waiting for him to just like look off to the side and be like, line.
yeah, right. He just kept going, just tripping over his own words. And it's fair enough. Like, you don't know how to talk to a kid. You fucking probably haven't talked to one like they're an adult in 20 years.
Yeah, he's just he's become an expert at throwing them into burn piles. Just not really having good conversations with them.
100%. Can't talk to corpses. Well, you can. They just won't talk back. They don't make good conversation.
Oh my god!
But so that was a cool sort of scene. You get a little bit of bonding between them. That was sort of Ellie's moment of being vulnerable as well, because you see a little bit of it with the clickers. You see a little bit of it here and there, but that was her like fully crying and fully just being like, yeah, I would have just been dead if this guy hadn't went out of his way. And sort of the same thing, right? The role reversal's there as well. They both would have been dead had the other not been there. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of a nice sort of twist. So we have our new character, Kathleen, who is introduced to us.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name actually because I didn't. When did they say Kathleen? Did they say it?
Right off the bat. Yeah, right off the bat. Where
the guy
the
that she's
doctor's talking to her. The doctor, trying to go through the list of people, and you hear that her brother was tortured and then beat to death by Fedra in one of those cells, and that they're looking for a list of people, which we know is probably likely Sam and Henry's group.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead. I want to talk about the cells. Finish your thought. I
have a couple thoughts. Really, it's mostly just like a sort of a dissection on the character a little bit. I think I don't know. I can't get a good solid read on her. And she's a new character. She's not in the games. She's not in the games at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's no parallel between her and anything else, really. In the game, they're just a random group of bandits that, they've come across that have kind of an established Rob and the other R word, basically, establishment kind of going on.
And
that's sort of what they're doing.
She's sort of like, what would you say? Like
Commander-in-Chief,
and looking like maybe she doesn't want to be.
Yeah,
or something. I don't know.
I can't get a solid read on her, so that's what made me feel weird about it. I don't know. Like, she seems like an HR lady, and that's what my partner told me, and I thought I couldn't get it out of my head.
Human resources seems running the show.
For sure, seems like a human resources person, right? But. You get a good scene of her where she I'm a doctor. You wouldn't kill your doctor, and she puts a gun to his head, and like, you don't think I'll do it? And he's like, no, I don't. And then they leave. They find the guys that got shot.
Interestingly enough, there's that one moment where he is like, I delivered you. Like, there's the
I held you in my arms.
Yeah, that compassionate connection, and she shows like some empathy.
And she was welling up in her eyes.
Yeah, she shows empathy. But then the minute, so actually, my question was outside.
Yeah, do you need a doctor?
The person that was outside that was obviously like shot, stabbed, or whatever, which encountered Joel and Ellie. Was that her son?
Yeah. No, I don't think so, because I don't think she has a son, because she's like, can you save him? She seemed a little bit disconnected. Can you save him? Right? And she's like, no, I don't think so. And then he's like, what if I had a doctor? It doesn't matter. This guy's
and that's all she needed.
And then she walks up to the sea can and bang! Yeah. And you're like, okay, this lady is a little bit unhinged.
Yeah,
so we're maybe going to see a little bit of this character
we don't need a doctor
breaking.
Right now? We don't need a doctor ever. Let's just go kill him.
At all. Yeah, right? What does it matter? You're all pawns in my game to catch Henry, right? So you find out Henry's alive, and for those who know the game, Sam and Henry are brothers. So it's they're a character that there's a strong plot points around them that are very interesting and powerful.
Affiliated at one point with these renegade hunters?
No, in the game, what happens is they were sent to basically pick up supplies or find some supplies in Pittsburgh. But now we're in Kansas instead, so it's been subbed out for Kansas. So instead of Pittsburgh, it's Kansas. And what happened is they basically ran into this group of hunters and killed a few of them trying to keep themselves alive. Lost a bunch of their party, basically all their party, except for them, right? And they were basically just trying to survive. And you encounter them in the middle of this Fedra versus Hunter battle, basically. And so there's not quite this political landscape they're kind of cooking up. Which you see now it's a little different, right? It's quite different from the game. So there's a lot more like Henry wasn't personally specifically wanted for what he did or the backstory of this. It was just like wrong place, wrong time, and Henry has killed a bunch of your guys because he's trying to protect his little brother Sam. So it's a big deviation, but obviously it kind of makes sense. These aren't just like NPCs. These are real characters, right? Like, they need to kind of flesh this out. So it can't just be random banditos. Like, it could be, but I think it's more fulfilling in a way to characterize the villains and, to create more of a backstory and why they're there and whatever the heck. It's interesting to explore those dynamics. So it is veering from the story traditionally as we know it as gamers, but I'm kind of interested to see what they do with it. But yeah, Kathleen's a completely original character there. And you said you had something about the sea cans, the prison cans they had.
Yeah, the sea cans were something that I worked heavily on. It was like shout out to Piot. We should probably have him on an episode here. He's expressed interest in coming on as well.
Awesome.
Him and I and some other guys, we built those sea cans. I guess here I will move over to our other pane here. So like the one sea can that he's in, like the prison cell one, right? Like you can kind of see it's we had to build it so that each and every wall and the ceiling could come off, like just peel away, like the wild wall thing, right?
Yeah.
And we actually got to build Smurf. Shout out to Smurf. If he ever watches this, lives out in Canmore. He drove in from Canmore every day. Like he's just an OG
That's like an
film
hour
carpenter.
And 20-minute drive, isn't it?
Yeah. He lives in Canmore. He's just been an OG like Alberta film carpenter, like I think almost his entire career, and he was so much fun to work with. He actually he built these doors the interesting thing is that like this was all built out of 1/4-inch plywood, right? 1/4-inch plywood like mitered into little sections, and then
I was gonna say, yeah, it had to have been, right? Like you had to have a router or something. How the heck did you do those?
Well, it was actually like mitered on like a 22.5 degree or whatever, right? And then like tiny little like 23 gauge pins to like put them all together, and like he did an incredible job on it. And then on this one, we had to cut out the hole for what we thought these were going to be used in the episode, right? It was like
they may still be, maybe. Considering that
it was like
she's
a little
still around,
little glass door that you like the flap opens up to like serve like a prison cell, right? Like your meal or whatever. And it was kind of cool because if you can see here, like we used like actual C-can hinges, and it was funny because it was like a bunch of C-cans that we had out in the yard. And like some of them was just like pull the hinges off, pull like, you know how like C-cans you have to like slide that big bar over and like lock it down. We like pulled the bars off and like modified the bars and like put them onto these like wooden C-cans that we built, right?
For those of you who don't know, obviously, historically, sea cans not made out of wood. They're giant, like aluminum and like iron cans that they load on the back of ships. That's why they're called that. They're sea cans because they're gigantic cans designed for shipping via. They're basically gigantic crates that go on ships. For those of you who are audio listeners who don't have a visual for this.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify, I mean that's cool. Thank you for listening. I'm
love you.
Glad that you enjoy our mindless banter about this video game TV series. But yeah, like go to YouTube and check this out. I guess there's cool little pictures and videos and all this stuff that we can show. But yeah, like the interior of this sea can, right? Like all of these ribs, I had to build all of these ribs like one by one, right? And we like laminate them on the inside. And just the way that the scenic painters make it look. Oh, this is a different picture. This is the tunnel. This is one of the tunnels that they were going into, I think, like the two hunters, the Kathleen and that other guy, to go to where that sunken pit in the floor was.
Ooh.
And all of that stuff was in it's like an abandoned Labatt brewery or whatever in Calgary, which is wild. It's an abandoned beer like brewery. It's like this giant building in
haunted?
Inglewood. It's definitely haunted. That place is wild.
Can we break in there?
Yeah, let's do
Obviously off the record.
Let's do
Can
it.
we please do that? That would be
of course
awesome,
in GTA, right?
Yeah, exactly. In a video game. Yeah.
But yeah, these were the other 3 C-can doors that we had to make, right? We had to like build 3 of these are false fronts, and they were beside the one that was practical that you could actually go inside of.
Yeah.
And
in the scene where the doctor is. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
and then we got
the doors next to it.
Some pictures here of what it looked like when it was finished, right? Like there's
get bent. This is
the
sick.
scene, or this is the part.
That's almost the exact angle from the scene when she walks up.
Right.
Open the door. Bang.
Yeah, and of course because it all had like Fedra logos, right? So I remember in like looking at the set and watching it get put together, I was like, interesting. I wonder how Fedra captures Joel and whatever. Or like I thought that it was going to be that. It turns out it's just like this whole weird side thing. It's not
totally
even Fedra that controls the building. It's like a taken over building by this renegade group. That's because this takes place in this QZ that's abandoned by Fedra.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
adjacent at the very least. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool actually seeing this stuff and how it comes together in the episode. The weird thing was like in this building there was also all these like cages off to the side that were made, and they didn't show up at all. They weren't even. I think
we'll still have an opportunity to see some more of that because we're coming up on part 2 of this episode, which I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but it did seem like pretty action packed. So we're going to probably. We're not done with Kathleen yet, is what I'm saying, for sure.
By the time HBO figures out that I spoiled that shit, this will be long. Fine. It'll be all out and nobody gives a shit. So
no worries. That one's coming out early too, so that episode will actually be on.
This episode comes out Friday because Super Bowl would compete with it, and who wants that?
I love that they did that, though. That's such a caring thought. I appreciate that they did that because, again, keeping everybody, in line or whatever. So, her right-hand man, Kathleen's right-hand man, the blonde guy?
Yeah.
That is Tommy's voice actor.
Wait, that is Tommy's voice actor? I thought
that is Tommy's voice actor.
I thought so. My buddy's.
I heard his voice, and I had to look it up immediately. That's Tommy's voice actor.
Interesting, because somebody told me that the guy, who was it? Was Piot? Said that the guy that was
you
sitting
told me
across the table
guy,
from him,
one of the guys chilling at the tables. I'm pretty sure, was in there as well as this episode.
Oh,
once I had heard that from you, and I heard his voice, I was like, oh. And I was like, wait a minute. I looked it up. I didn't look up if he's the same guy from episode 1, but I think I saw a long-haired guy chilling at the bazaar, like just like what you're talking about. I think I remember that in my head because I saw that episode a couple times. So it kind of stands out to me. But yeah, that's Tommy's voice actor, the long-haired blonde guy. So I guess if we want to know why Tommy's voice actor didn't play Tommy, it's because he didn't look fucking anything like him. He doesn't look anything like him. It's looks like a tough white biker guy. It's a little different. This is such a random tangent. I'm sorry. Put this in the episode for no fucking reason. How long do you think potatoes are good for after you buy them? If they're a little soft, they're probably still good, right? Like, they're potatoes. They like hardly go bad.
Are they growing little like cordyceps vines?
Not really.
No?
Like that, they should still be good, right?
Wait, why are you asking me and not Google?
Because you're my friend and I trust you. You're host number 2, dude. You're host of my heart, dog.
Host number potato, man.
No, that's Luca. That's Luca's job, all right? Yeah. Host potaremember.
All right, so, let's dig back into it. And actually, before we go anywhere, before we get too far past this whole laundromat thing, I got to show you this. You remember how I showed you that baby, like the cordyceps baby with the wig on, and like
yes.
So this is along the same lines. Not so much as funny, but like the laundromat blueprint. Sometimes they put like people in there as like scale.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not
what are they saying?
Pulp Fiction. Sam Jackson and John Travolta.
Oh my God, it is.
Right?
That's so say what again? Sorry, I didn't even read that. Say what again?
I put that on the blueprint.
So funny. Yo, we happy? Look at the briefcase. Yeah, we happy.
Yeah, we happy. I just had to put that on
That's
there. And
great.
it's funny because I forgot this was a whole thing, but like I took a picture of it. Yeah, you can see the whole laundromat. Like we got some washers and dryers there.
You know.
Anyway,
even the scale of people to wash or dryer in that, I would like to say, is a little off. But whatever. I figure,
whatever.
As real carpenters with numbers and measurements, I'm sure you could figure that out. Ideally, if you're good at your job, measurements should mean something to you. So. Yeah. Okay. So so Tommy, we get sort of introduction to him as a secondary character.
That dude's
you learn
a badass.
Kathleen's, right? But it's interesting. They have this dynamic. So this is kind of where I come in weighing in on Kathleen's character. I don't know. Maybe it's just my like bias to her as like a new character. And just like immediately I was on guard about whether or not I liked her. Not liked her. Because like I don't think I'm supposed to. She seems kind of wretched, but like whether or not I enjoy this character's existence, sort of. I just felt on the fence about it. I wasn't sure, and after like the second watch, I don't think we've had enough time yet. I feel like again we got big HR lady energy with like leading a militia group for some reason.
I love that so much.
So she's got like that kind of like I'm leading a militia group vibe to her. It really seems like they listened to her, like because they all parted when she turned around and walked off, right? And all the soldiers were looking at her, whatever the heck.
Yeah, and I get then the sense, what's his name? Like the
Tommy.
What do we call this guy?
We don't know his name yet.
We'll call him Tommy 2. Tommy 2 is like the good boy. He's following her every order.
The guard dog. Guard dog. Like 100%. And
like,
so I wonder
how does she have that control over him?
Maybe they're romantically involved. Could be even, right? And that it could be also this guy kind of holds influence over that militia group. And not to say women can't be in power over men. It's just like in these very dark, dreary, dreadful situations, that's not the woman that you imagine leading a militia group. You imagine her to be hardened, gruff, beat up, less kempt. You know what I mean? To be a little more like Tess, maybe, right? You'd be a little more of a badass seeming off the front. So again, I don't want to judge.
Cheers,
it's not
Tess.
that. Damn right. Cheers, Tess. Cheers to the voice actress. Rest in peace. Yeah,
and
to the
happened,
character as well.
it?
Yeah, Anna Torvich or no?
Wait, no. Anna Torv is the real life actress.
Oh shit! I fucked that up.
Yeah, but the one who voiced her passed away.
Yes. Yeah. The actress who played her in the game. Yeah, she passed away just recently, just somewhere between episode 2 and 4. But yeah, so that's a rest in peace to her. But yeah, so you kind of get this like strange vibe, at least I did, off this character, where I'm just like kind of can't read her. You know, she shows a little more compassion than I would expect for a raider group or the hunters, right?
And also, I guess this will push into talking about the giant swelling hole in the floor. The reaction that she had as compared to Tommy 2's reaction.
Well, and I'm really curious. I wanted to weigh in on that. She was hardcore about finding Henry. Now, we know when she gets these, she shoots the doctor, comes back and says, you know, this is all Henry's doing. Henry was probably sent for them, and this is going to keep happening until we find him.
Yeah, and obvious manipulation.
That's delusional. Right? Yeah, it's delusional because we know Sam and Henry. We know them to be decent characters. They're not out there ripping. As far as I know, as long as they follow, some direction from the game and don't totally deviate, then we have characters who are good-hearted and well-spirited, hardened but well-spirited, right? So. She's definitely manipulated, and then she says, like, oh, we need to find Henry, right? And they find that. It's like, well, boss, there's one more thing we need to do. So this is once they had found the superheroes, the two black superheroes with the mask on. So that's how they kind of knew Henry was there, because Henry and Sam are brothers, and that's sort of like a way of showing Sam looks up to his brother, the superhero thing, right? He kind of wants to be a hero like him. So you can tell, obviously, his brothers rescued him lots. So you get sort of the scene where Tommy 2 pulls her downstairs and says, well, we need to show you one more thing. And he's leading for her too. And, handgun, or not handgun, sorry, big machine gun out. And he's,
it's the M4
he's opening the doors. He's clearing all the rooms and everything, right? And he calls her in. She's just got a flashlight and looking, she doesn't have a weapon drawn or anything. So you get a sense she doesn't have a lot of combat experience just from that alone. So that's another way that I kind of I just was thrown by her. But that's kind of made me think, maybe, kind of Tommy 2 maybe runs this show, but mostly through, I don't know. Their dynamic will probably be explored more. And we find that crack in the ground, and she says, we'll worry about this later.
Yeah.
And I remember my partner just kept saying, burn it.
Yeah.
Fucking set that place on fire. You don't need it. You don't need that building.
Can I ask, I feel like my initial impression was is that the mycelium network?
That was my first
trying
thought,
to push up through into the building.
Vines growing underground, but that would be too much movement for what's happening,
now,
right?
There was
too much movement.
There was a scene in one of the trailers where there's a molten weird hole that it looks like a bloater is crawling up out of.
That's the trailer for this next episode. Yeah, I saw that.
So
and actually, I normally don't watch those. Yes, I normally don't watch those. Right, but this episode, I was sitting there theorizing with my partner, trying to figure out what do you think that crack in the ground was? And we both kind of thought it might have been the sort of the cordyceps vines, the cordyceps network, right? But I was like, that is a lot of movement for something that is
heaving,
a
asphalt.
Fungus doesn't grow, and it was a lot of movement, right? So what I'm thinking is the ground cracked under the weight of a bloater or something, because bloaters weigh a ton. They shake the camera in the game. And there's a bloater in Last of Us Part 2 that had fallen through the ground. This is when you're in the arcade, and it brings you down into the level below or whatever. You fall down, and there's this bloater who's just fallen into this basement level or whatever, and you have to just duke it out with him because he smashed through the floor on the main level. You're like, what the hell could do that? And you end up falling down there, and you're like, oh fuck, it's bloater. Oh shit, of course it is. So there's a sense maybe heavy enough to break it, but I think it's probably a bloater and a swarm.
Coming up from underground, though?
Yeah. I mean, it's what it has to be, right? But I think maybe they fell in somehow. Maybe there's a hole in the ground originally. Some sort of damage was done structurally, and maybe they just fell in, or maybe somebody blew up the ground while they were near it.
Wait, is it that? Sort of implying that no, because it can't just grow new people from the ground. It needs hosts, right?
Yeah. So I get the sense that whoever was last in there, I was too, right? But they definitely show in the trailer a bloater climbing out of a hole.
Was that for sure a bloater?
So 100%. There's no shot.
Yeah, because the fungus is all over the whole
you
body.
You can hear
right?
them. Yeah. They don't. No other Last of Us monster makes that noise. It's bloater noise immediately. As soon as I heard the noise, I was like, "That's what that is. That's what that is." He's a little smaller in the trailer than our traditional bloater, which is 8 feet tall, which is fucking monstrosity. The Hulk you gotta fight.
Yeah, apparently bloaters were all just infected NBA superstars.
yeah, exactly, right? Maybe cordyceps grows your bones a little bit. Who knows, right? But it's big, chunky, tall guys. That's what they look for in bloaters, I guess. So, be careful with what you eat.
I'm really interested to see whether or not that, because that was like a weird foreshadowing thing that they're like, we'll explain this next episode.
Well, and she even said, she's like, we have to get Henry right now. It's more important. And that just shows her lack of care. He knows what that is too.
Yeah, he obviously knows what that is. Because he's like,
and so
you serious? Are you serious?
And so does she. So that's what leads me to believe maybe that was like a charge they detonated that was supposed to kill all the infected they trapped in a room and they fell through the ground or something. Or maybe that was like a clicker or something that they blew up a little bit and that's why it's like half destroyed but didn't die. Maybe it's just like underground, the could have turned into a bigger thing, something different than what they've seen before. Because we know that Joel and Tess have never seen bloater. We know that because in the game's canon, they're like, that's nonsense. That doesn't happen.
When they're walking across the 4th Avenue flyover bridge there, when they're just like,
so they specifically talk about that. Yeah, and then she asks, well, what about the guys with their eyes that explode and they make fucking dolphin noises? And you're like, oh, that's real, though.
Oh, we got a Mauser Beams cameo on the podcast.
Yeah, we do. Hello,
Can
Beamer.
We introduce host number 3?
This is host number 4, actually.
Host number 4?
That's host Potato is Luca. He is never number. But, yeah, so this is Beamer. Yeah, she's a sweetie, Meowser Beams.
Oh.
She is she's my little lap kitten.
Meow.
Very lovable young one.
Can confirm is good cat.
Is a good cat. 10 out of 10. Highly rated. Highly critically acclaimed. HBO's The Meowser Beams of us. Hey, thanks for laughing at that. I appreciate it. It's a bit of a pity laugh, but I'll take it. So, what the heck? So, ground swelling, bloater. Yeah, and that was in the storage room. Specifically, they said we have to check out the storage room. So,
yeah.
They are aware of what room that is, what building they were in. And, she says, we'll deal with it later. We got to worry about Henry. Again, it shows a character for her that is just basically someone who's a person possessed with one singular goal. And it's obviously obsessive. It's obviously unnecessary. And I think we're going to kind of come to see that to fruition, right?
Yeah, am I the only one that wants to potentially see like a grand demise of that character?
Of Kathleen?
Yeah. She seems like a bad person.
I think automatic. It's like the Joffrey effect.
Yeah, right.
Like, you're a loser. I don't like you. I want eventually, if we had enough of her, I'm sure we want to get her murdered for sure, right? Yeah. But for now, I'm just like feeling strange about her, right? I haven't quite seen the full unsettling potential of the character, but I think we'll come to see that to fruition in this second episode or episode 5, I guess, obviously, but second episode of this sort of story segment, right? Yeah. So then we get to the point where Joel admits he's been on both sides. He said of the raiders and the regular people. He explains sort of his position with the militia group that he was with Tommy and Tess. And you ever killed an innocent person? He's like, yeah, yeah. Or didn't say anything, but he basically just
very heavily implied yes.
Didn't have to, yeah, right? So, and then so they get to a place where Joel says, "Okay, we're gonna go up some flights of stairs now. We're gonna find a room for us, right?" And she says, "We're gonna go up 42 flights of stairs." And he goes, 45.
Yeah, 45.
And actually no. It's like, we're going to go up as many as I can, as many as I can make, or whatever the hell, right?
Yeah.
They make it to, 35 floors or something? They
something
get up
like
35 floors, yeah. And then he sits down or whatever, and she's like, get up. Quit being a lazy ass or whatever. Yeah. And he reaches out and grabs her hand, and she picks him up, basically, lifts him back up, and he's just like, I'm not a lazy ass. I'm 56 years old, you little shit. 56 years old. Yeah, you little shit. And it's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a smile moment from Daddy Joel, Daddy Pedro, right?
Yeah, it seemed genuine. It seemed very
like a bit of bonding.
The dialogue seemed very realistic and very not written. It just seemed fuck you, little shit. I'm 56 years old.
And even when Ellie said just earlier when they were climbing into the sort of the FedEx room to get into that building or whatever, and he's like, where would you be without me? Because he needed her to unlock the door. And He just says Wyoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice little pot shot there off the side. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was a little bit of like the Joel and Ellie banter that you kind of show up for the game. That's kind of what makes it so wholesome, but yet so uniquely dark. Sorry, cat hair, everybody. Woo! And yeah, so then they find a spot on the 35th floor. There's Joel breaking the glass and making the stretch of glass for them to walk across or whatever. And you see, she says, "Are you gonna hear it? Are you sure you're gonna hear it? You don't hear so good on your right side or whatever." And that's funny because that's the side he has turned to her when she's yelling his name. And he goes, what? Right? And that's also the side that he was laying on. Oh, always. He was always laying on his right side. And that's what kept his like left ear open, right? Yep. So in all the scenes, he turns away from her and they never really face each other. But in that scene, he had rolled over and was like, "Listen, if you don't want to talk about now it's not your first time, you don't have to," because she didn't want to when he mentioned it, right? But he'd like looked to her and said, "I'm just saying it's not fair," and blah, 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 right? And that's when she pointed out, "Yeah, you don't hear very good on that side." So, and he like rolls back over to the other side. He's like, "Oh, you're right." And like rolls back over on the other one. He's like, "Whatever, go to sleep," basically, right? Let's go to bed.
Yeah, it didn't help him though.
No, right? 100%. So yeah, you sure you're gonna hear it? And he's like, "Yeah, I am." Yeah, no one's gonna come for us. Nope, they're not.
Well, yeah, no. To be honest, though, like the people who snuck up on them were smart enough to walk around the glass. Obviously,
I mean that's how they survived the army of people that would have killed them and eaten them by that point.
Yeah, I have a cool little reference photo here actually from
nice
from the attic set because that whole attic set like.
Yeah.
Building all these timbers.
Well, that is in the game. I'm pretty sure the attic set.
Is it?
Like the attic.
Yeah,
itself.
with all these like the cool paintings on the wall that they showcase, like the superhero thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like something very, very like that is in the game at the very least.
Interesting. Yeah. I actually never got far enough in the game to meet these characters. So my first impression of these characters is through the series, and I don't know I don't know if I ever saw you playing the game when these characters were in. So this is all new to me.
Sweet Moses. I just can't wait for the game to come out on PC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to come to PC March 3rd or whatever the heck. Like,
do you know what I think? I think what would be really cool, and I think HBO should really do, is that they should make a video game out of this.
They should make it The Last of Us the game.
Yeah.
Last of Us the movie, the game.
The game.
Last of Us, the TV, HBO's The Last of Us, the TV show, the game. And that's the full title, all right?
You can have it. I'm not requesting anything HBO. You can just have that idea. You can just go ahead and make a video game. Yeah. That's all you
Make sure you get EA to make it. Make sure EA makes it. And make sure there's as much microtransactions as you could. You know what? Make it free to play. A live service game. A live service game. There you go. Yeah, freemium is hell, please.
You can have that one.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll buy at least 10 loot boxes if you make them, all right? Or whatever you want to call them. Loot sea cans. I don't know.
Loot sea cans. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm patenting that right away.
So then we get the closing scene, I guess the second to closing scene, where obviously Joel's laying there and Ellie does her thing. Pun? She's doing with the pun book. And she says, she's like, "Did you know diarrhea is hereditary?" And Joel's like, "What the fuck are you talking?" Right? And his head's like, "What?" Yeah, it runs in your genes.
Yeah, it runs in your genes, dude. And
he's just like, "Shut up! Oh, yeah, shut up!"
He's so pissed
and then he
laughed
gets quiet
at
for a second, and then he goes, "That is so goddamn stupid."
It's so
he
goddamn
chuckles
stupid.
a bit. She goes, "You laugh, motherfucker!" And he's like, "I did not." "Yes, you did." Right? He just starts laughing really hard. Right? He's like, "I'm losing it." "Yeah, you are."
Yeah, that scene.
You're losing it bad.
That scene legit made me like well up. That was. That and like okay, there was the really harsh moment where they where the guy that Ellie had to shoot in the fucking spine.
Gotta paralyze a man sometimes.
The whole calling for his mama. That hurt. That dug deep. And then this last scene where she makes that pun and Joel's like he's just like, "That is so goddamn stupid."
It's so goddamn stupid.
God, that just like it was such a wonderful, and I love how like it felt like just such a lighthearted way to carry out the end of the episode and just be like, that's the
but I didn't feel like it was the end because this is a shorter episode than the rest. I really had the sensation that like, oh, there's more to happen, whatever the heck, because as soon as they fall asleep, who do they wake up to but, the young man with the superhero thing goggles painted on himself or whatever the heck, right? It's Sam and Henry.
Yeah.
So for viewers of the show and who have only seen the show and haven't really ever played the game, that's some pivotal characters in the story. So probably some of the most important characters in the game, actually.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see, because like I don't have a lot of frame of reference of what their presence was like in the game, but I do know that they are characters in the game. I just don't have a lot of memory of what that part of the game is like. So the core of my experience of these characters will be what's to come on Friday. On
Friday. And they got a gun pointed at him, and she just goes, Joel. She's got her hands up, and Joel's obviously sleeping because he's an old man. and that's where we get a cut for the credits. And so I felt like that episode was short. I was like, God, what's next? Oh.
Why didn't we call this podcast Old Man Strength? that would have been the best way to use that. We've been like wondering about using that. I
suggested it
as a name for the podcast. Oh my God, I would have.
No, we have a good name. We're doing fine, all right? It's Old Man Strength is just a fun one, all right? That'll be our second podcast, okay? That'll be us just talking about all these goddamn Zoomers on TikTok and complaining. We'll be doing reaction videos when the show runs out, so we'll be looking forward to that, guys. So do you have any, I guess you don't really know a lot about the characters or whatever the heck where they go from here. Do you have any predictions? Anything for the next episode?
No, this is like, it's all new territory for me. I don't have any frame of reference from the game at this point. All I have is my fragmented knowledge of sets, which like the sets that we built, like we didn't. The funny thing when it comes to building sets as a carpenter on the series is like we're not necessarily building sets in sequence. Yeah. So like building sets one after another is not how they've been appearing in the episodes. So I don't know.
It's gotta be interesting. Yeah.
I'm in uncharted territory at this point.
Uncharted, another hit Naughty Dog franchise, turned into an excellent property.
Go watch
totally
that movie. On purpose.
Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Wow, I just had a stroke, I think. The fuck did I just say? Mark, help computer. Help kids, I'm a computer. Help computer. What? Can you say his name?
Mark Wahlberg?
Marky Mark. Thank you. Mark Wahlberg. Thank you. What on... Jeez,
oh my God.
Jeez. Jane the Walk Dwanson? Like, what is going on over here? I can't even think clearly. Okay. Well, that was an attempt. So, yeah, go watch that shitty movie is what I'm trying to say, okay? It's worth something. It certainly is not a proper brand transition like this one. Yeah, you'll definitely... you might enjoy it. I don't know. But, yeah, so carrying on from Mark Wahlberg there, I'm going to just
Why
shift,
is that so funny?
I don't know. It's just a moment there. That's brain cells at 4% battery here in battery saver mode. But yeah, so for predictions, I want to say it concisely. I'll make 3 predictions. 1, we will see the bloater. That's a pretty safe prediction. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. They didn't say it outright, but I think it's pretty predicted by the trailer, sort of to the next episode. I like to try to not watch those usually. But I was very curious with this one.
Well,
I had my suspicions confirmed.
If the bloater crawling out of the hole is in the trailer for episode 5, then it's safe to say that that's from that hole in the floor. Yeah,
that's what I think. Right? It's just a matter of like trying to figure out how. And obviously, writers are talented. There's probably some way, rhyme, or reason why they showed that. That's maybe we don't know.
When I saw the bloater crawling out of the hole, because it's not just the bloater; it's the bloater plus. Right?
Yeah.
There's other things.
There's infected, multiple, yeah.
When I saw that scene in the initial trailers before the series had premiered, I thought that was from a set that I can't speak of yet. Okay. And that is not come into... It's probably later on.
Mark Wahlberg.
God damn it, stop hitting me with that. No, yeah. So like I think you're probably right, because like That was weird. It was weird seeing like the ground just like swelling and moving like that.
It's very strange. Kind of. I had a moment there where I thought, oh, could we have ourselves like a Rat King situation? But the Rat King was specific to part 2 in the way that the fungus grows differently in highly damp areas, highly humid areas, because fungus functions differently.
Yeah, of course.
When things are wet. So they had different types of infected out in the Seattle area. So, I mean, that'll make for a really exciting part 2 when the Rat King shows up. That'll be something else to behold. I don't know if you ever looked that up after I told you about that, but
no,
the Rat King is something else, dude. Holy cow! Yeah, no, nightmarish.
I kind of want to just leave it to see what whatever HBO does with it.
Oh yeah. I don't know if they could do it justice, but we'll see. Depends how they do the bloater. If they did the bloater right, the Rat King will be something else.
You know what?
Yeah, so that's
maybe
episode.
You should just do another Last of Us 2 twitch.tv/Seductro speedrun.
Oh my god, a speed run. I don't know.
Grounded.
I play things on the hardest difficulty. Yeah, I don't know if I could speed run that. I could show you how fast I can cry. It's pretty quick. I think in that game I could probably within like half an hour I think I'm able to cry openly for probably the rest of it. So
yeah, I would say it only takes you about, par 3. Right?
Yeah, I would say so. Honestly, I feel like it's a bit of a birdie with that one. So, yeah. So, carrying on. So prediction 1, prediction 2, we're going to sort of see a fleshing out of the connection between Henry and this lady Kathleen. I'm assuming Kathleen was part of the QZ and maybe opposed Fedra and made Kansas City a free city, right?
She'd like
maybe
a
she was
proper
leading an
pirate,
opposition.
like total mutiny.
I think that's what happened, basically. So I think that's why, and I think that's how her brother got ratted out. Was maybe Henry was trying to sort of keep the what do you call it, the dissent at a minimum, or what, needed to rat somebody out to protect his brother or something, right? And maybe he was trying to stop this revolution from happening because, he could see it was radicalized or whatever, right? And didn't want to be part of that. So. Or who knows? It could be racist. Could be anything. Could be all sorts of things. So we'll come to see more of Kathleen as a fleshed out character, which I think will be interesting. So I'm gonna say I think there's gonna be a bit of mutiny just based off the fact that there's a QZ and we have fully armed out guys and Fedra equipment and all that stuff. Obviously, there's been some disagreement in that QZ. So that's quarantine zone for those who don't know what QZ is. And my third prediction is gonna be that we're gonna see Joel, I think, rely on Ellie a lot more than he has previously. I think it's going to be an action-packed episode. I think there's going to be a lot of combat, and I think you're going to sort of see through the bond between Sam and Henry, like little person, big person, that Ellie kind of learns and takes things from Sam and their bond or whatever, and wants to looks up to them in a certain way, right? That she sort of takes on a leadership role, and a little bit of that survivor's guilt will start to crop up more so because she's seen a lot of people falling to things that she's immune to or has been protected from, so we'll see more of her processing that sort of survivor's guilt in whatever way that takes shape, right? So because we already know she's had to deal with that from her very first encounter. I won't spoil anything, but her very first encounter with the infected, which she was bit but not infected, and has been bitten again and again not infected, but that was Tess's death, right? So she's seen sort of an immunity to these things in a way that other people are morbidly afraid of, that she doesn't have to worry about. So I think she's dealing with that and will be forced to deal with that sort of as this crops up. The game has themes of that, but it was never quite fully explored. So I feel like that's kind of what we're going to be expecting from that. So those are my excited. 3 predictions.
And it's Monday now as when we're recording this, so we don't have long to wait.
Yeah. It's freaking Tuesday, buddy. Not even.
It's Tuesday. Wait, is it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're coming up on Wednesday right away here.
You're right, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, we only have a few days.
We touched on this at the start of the episode, and we got distracted. But I did want to show about the vehicles. Just toss this in here. I scrolled down to my pictures, and I realized I was like, I want to show this. So when it comes to like Bill's truck, right? Yeah. The one thing that I wanted to talk about was this particular like rig, right? The buggy rig that's on top, and then Tommy's vehicle as well. So one thing that I learned when these vehicles came into the shop afterwards, when we were like kind of storing them, this whole rig that's up top, you can see like these cables that are run off the side. That's like the brake lines and the steering and like the fluid for.
Shut up.
So
shut up.
Yeah. So whenever there's a scene, like we're talking like when Joel and Ellie are on the highway and they're driving, and they're talking and they're kind of looking at each other here and there. Whenever this is a thing that's Hollywood, I guess it's something that just is standard in Hollywood. If there's ever a scene where there's people in the car and they need to act and they need to do things, somebody is sitting on the roof of that car driving that vehicle. Because the actor's not allowed to drive that vehicle and not look at the road, right? It's an insurance risk. So
you've got some motherfucker up there playing Gran Turismo with your life.
You've got some dude up there driving the vehicle, so that Pedro's just sitting there holding the wheel, and the wheel's moving with the tires, right?
Yeah.
But the person actually moving the wheel is on the ceiling of that vehicle. And it's wild.
How do we get driver's instructors to take that? How do we put our driver's instructor on the roof so we can be a little less anxious when we're in the car, you know?
Yeah, you know what's funny is you go to your driver's ed test for your class 5 license and you bring this vehicle and you've got your dad or whatever sitting on the roof driving.
Yeah. Your dad, exactly. That's so funny. You're so skilled at this. So thanks,
oh my God, you're so good at this.
Just slap the roof. Good job, Dad.
Yeah, it's crazy. Eh? Like they built this whole rig. They welded it to the ceiling of the car.
It looks like it would be a turret, like a mounted chain gun from Mad Max or something. I'm waiting for a dude to get up and play guitar on the roof of that thing.
Yeah, and then I think there was one. Where was it? Fuck. So you can see right here. There's 1, 2, 3 of Bill's truck, and what's not pictured here is the one that was trashed. So I think there was 4. I think there was 4.
There was definitely a spot missing there.
And I don't know why, right? They're all like complete replicas of each other. I think there was 2 or 3 of Tommy's, and then I can't remember what this other one is. Again, HBO. I'm sorry, whatever. The thing's in the shot.
I'm pretty sure that Pontiac Sunfire, or whatever the hell that is not really much of a spoiler.
Totally inconsequential to the story of this.
Yeah, maybe
series.
That's what they leave in. Who knows? Who really cares?
Yeah, but I think that was one of the coolest. That like the windows doing the gimbal to like offset the reflection of the camera, and the cockpit bolted to the roof of cars. I've been watching House of the Dragon. And like
House of Dragons.
Wait.
Critically acclaimed show, House of Dragons.
House of Dragons? It's House of the Dragon.
I'm pretty sure it's House of Dragons. Mark Wahlberg.
Type 1 in chat, or 2 in chat if it's... Anyway.
Yeah, leave a comment. HBO's critically acclaimed series, The House of Dragons.
Anyway, I've been watching that series, and like... I can't even there's a scene where they walk into this giant hall and like the doors swing open, and all I can pay attention is to man, it would have been so cool to build that door. It's like
or the throne.
Yeah, like
throne,
I'm definitely a little bit jaded, or not jaded. I don't know. Jaded implies like
that was quick.
I worked on one film. No, it's just
I'm already pissed.
I can see through it, unfortunately. Like I can see through some of the illusion now. And it's like it's
now
affecting
you know what it's
everything.
like when I go into the settings of video games and I can't stop changing them because I just know it could look better if I fucked with it a little more, you know? I see too many strings when I look at everything. I'm like, no, my immersion. That's why when I play a console game, I'm very grateful that they just take that away from me, because sometimes... You know, like games like The Last of Us, I really get to fully enjoy it because I'm not constantly turning the ray tracing on and off and back on and off and, trying to get my best performance in 300 frames per second. It's just like, no, play this game, you stupid asshole. It's a PS4. Just play it. It doesn't run that good. Just deal with it. I'm like, yep.
You're really, speaking highly of, communism right now. Just strip everybody of all of their agency.
Well, all I'm saying is everyone gets a PS4 if you elect me for commie president 2022. That already passed. Shit, you guys didn't do that? What the hell? Combi Presidente, come on. So I mean, that's I guess that's our episode. I think Daddy Pedro, episode 4. And yeah, you've got the next episode coming out on Friday. So we're adjusting our schedule a little bit, trying to get this one out a little earlier. So if you're wondering why they've been smashed together, it's because we realized we had to kind of put a little bit of a hurry on it. So before that next episode happens. So yeah, look forward to action-packed episode 5, and we'll probably have lots to say about it. So tune in. And till then, follow me at twitch.tv/Seductro. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. You know what to do. All of those numbers mean everything. The amount of support we've got so far means the world. We love it. We're bragging about it. We like to tell our friends, our moms know. It's great. You know, we're really out here bragging about it.
Yeah, so, if you want to see this guy absolutely unhinged, go to Twitch. This is
twitch.tv/Seductro. Yeah, I scream a lot and swear and
the podcast of us is the shirt and tie version of this man.
I don't tell my mom about that one, I'll be honest. Leave her out of any of those inside jokes, because I don't want to be disowned.
All right, we've stuck the landing.
Till next time.
Yes, signing off. Stay clear of bloaters. We'll see you in episode 5.
Yeah.
Later.